Welcome to the first episode of Fourth and Vibes. Today we are going over week one of the NFL season. A lot happened. Very excited to start breaking down these games for you. Unfortunately, I only watched 15 games because I don't really think anyone, even Saints fans and Cardinals fans, wanted to watch their game. So, sorry guys. Throughout the season, depending on how you guys look, I'll take a gander, but seems as of right now, Cardinals are a different story, but the Saints probably going to get the number one overall pick if I had to guess. And yeah, just it's a lot to watch 16 games, and I thought I'd take a break on game 16. So forgive me for being lazy, but let's get started. The first one is Eagles Cowboys. That was Thursday night last week. Honestly, both teams looked pretty solid outside of the obviously week one rust. Jalen Carter getting ejected immediately before the game even started was not on my bingo card. It happens. Spitting on Dak, though, he did spit at him first. Carter just got caught. You know, the old adage, don't swing second because you will get flagged and fined. Uh, we'll see. I don't think there's been anything on whether or not he'll be suspended for the next game, which I believe is a big one. Let me double check on week two. I'm pretty sure it's an important game. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Yeah, they're playing the Chiefs, so definitely could use Jalen Carter because he's arguably their best defensive player and arguably their best player not named Saquon Barkley. So yeah, he gets ejected before the game even starts. What I saw, pretty chippy game, and you kind of love that for some heated rivals. And the specialists were on point. Both defenses kind of had to settle in a little bit. It was kind of some offensive fireworks to start. But yeah, for the Cowboys, I definitely enjoyed the way they were using Turpin, kind of in that, not, I don't want to say Debo Samuel role because they're two completely different players. I just like the way they used him as a decoy on some because you do have to respect his speed. Guy's fast as hell. That was pretty evident that it took the Eagles out of some spots. Just having to worry about jet sweeps with Turpin, you know. Dak looks all the way back, to be quite honest. Not that he wasn't. I mean, he just got hurt last year. He was in the MVP conversation prior. He's an unbelievable quarterback, to be quite honest. No surprise there. And I think the year before he was also in the MVP conversation. CeeDee Lamb was cooking Adoree Jackson early. I think the Eagles might have a cornerback two problem. Sure, we'll see a lot of Jacorian Bennett, I believe, a little bit more as he starts to settle in on their defense. I mean, both of them really need to. They're new additions, and I don't believe Vic Fangio's defense is the most player. I don't want to say player friendly because it is if you like to work hard, but it's a very complex defense. So maybe it'll take some time, maybe not. Javonte Williams for the Cowboys looks to be like he did a little bit in UNC. You know, he had a couple injury marred seasons and never really quite looked like the dog he was in University of North Carolina. But yeah, he looks to be a solid pickup for them off the, I don't want to say scrap heap because that's demeaning to them, but you know what I'm saying. One thing that was very evident in the game is the Cowboys could definitely use an elite pass rusher. Sorry, Jerry. Probably should have held on and paid Micah because those guys don't grow on trees. I think there's, three of them in the NFL. So run defense be damned, even though I think the Eagles did just fine. And the Packers actually held the Lions to, I think, 40 something yards, 50 yards. So, yeah. Granted, to be fair to Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons didn't play the entirety of the defensive snaps. So, who knows? Maybe he is a liability in run defense. But that being said, Cowboys looked like they could use I mean, every team could use an elite pass rusher, but hopefully their young guys kind of take the next step over the season and get going. But Pickens is Pittsburgh Pickens, as I believe Kellen Moore called him, jokingly. He's just one of the best, most talented wide receivers in the NFL, but also just does dumb shit. Like there was a dumb penalty in the third where it's like, come on, dude. You made the red zone trip that much harder, personal foul or whatever it was, and I don't know. Then Sanders fumbles immediately after, which was a great play by Zach Bond, if I'm not mistaken. So more on that on the Eagles in just a moment. But you got to have two hands on the ball when you're running through that much traffic, in my opinion. But not that it never played in the NFL, played a little bit in college, nothing special. But in my opinion, when you're running through traffic like that, Sanders, you got to have two hands on the ball. The trick plays and all that type of stuff, their offense was doing just fine without it. I mean, they did do some jet sweeps and some stuff like that earlier in the game, but it seemed like towards the end of the third, the Cowboys were just kind of spamming that button. CeeDee Lamb having three or four huge drops in crunch time. Really, really negatively affected, obviously, the ability for them to win. And quite frankly, you can make an argument that if he made those catches, Cowboys would have won pretty easily. So yeah, not easily, but it would have been in the in the cards for them to win the game. So I know he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You could say top five. You could argue wherever you want on that list outside of maybe one and two. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb having those three real, well, let's say two drops. And then the one where he had the layout, I mean, that's a 50-50 catch for literally any wide receiver, even Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or Malik Neighbors or whoever else you want to toss in that upper echelon. But yeah, not a good look to kind of close out the game. Just wasn't the best. But hey, it's early. He's going to bounce back, I'm sure. And at the end of the day, he was still having 7 receptions, 110 yards, and his long was 32. Would have been longer if he made that catch, but I digress. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when your playmakers kind of, I don't want to say shit the bed because the one was absolutely shit in the bed. I mean, it was dropped. Dak couldn't have thrown the ball better. It was and concentration drop. I don't know what it was. But yeah, I mean, the Cowboys look like the will be there in January. They looked great against the Super Bowl winning, reigning champions, and can't really complain or harp too much or too little on kind of what I saw from them. But on to the Eagles. Saquon is still Saquon Barkley. He is still electric with the ball in his hands. One of my notes is kind of funny from the game. Unfortunately, he ended up getting injured, which is why they traded for Tank Bigsby. But the Eagles are collecting exciting whites like Infinity Stones. Will Shipley looked super fast and quite frankly, much improved from last year. But unfortunately, I think he went down with some broken ribs. Not ideal for the young buck. Adoree Jackson, I think I mentioned this briefly about how the Cowboys just terrorized him pretty much all game. Might be the weak link in the secondary. Howie might be making some calls. Hurts got his security blanket going. Eden Goddard, and that was. I mean, the offense looked exactly how it did at the end of the year. Run and pass and don't try to force anything. Don't do anything too crazy. You know, Hurts played lights out. Like, obviously, it wasn't the most prolific. But, I mean, he looked great. Let me see. Hurts, not Super Bowl stats, week 1. An 82.6 completion percentage. He had 152 yards, which, again, isn't lighting the world on fire. He didn't have any touchdowns through the air, but he also didn't throw any picks. I think he had a couple touchdowns on the ground. He did what he needed to do to get the W. And speaking of which, he threw the ball once to A.J. Brown. This team, they're not gonna, it's kind of like with the Ravens or the Chiefs over the years and stuff like that. They're gonna do whatever they can to get the win. They're not gonna feed their guys just because A.J. Brown doesn't want to read on the thing. And he seemed completely fine with the one target. I mean, he was open from what I saw quite a bit, but I don't know. You can't. They won, so who cares at the end of the day? I couldn't really get a good grasp of the new look front seven, obviously because Carter wasn't in the game, but Howie signing Zadarius Smith. One, obviously, took him out of free agency from the Lions, but also, so he made one of the people they'll have to play weaker. Also, he um, is now on the Eagles, and he looked pretty solid for the Lions at the end of the year. I know they didn't have Hutchinson, and he's not necessarily a edge one on this defensive line. I think Zadarius Smith's going to do just fine, especially once Jalen Carter's back. Jalix Hunt does look explosive, but it seems like he kind of, I don't know, he didn't necessarily, as the game went on, they kind of figured him out a little bit. So again, why Howie signed, Jesus, I got to stop doing that. Why Howie signed Zadarius Smith. I think we all saw it. Their pass rush wasn't nearly as dominant. At the end of the day, when you lose Sweat and then Milton Williams, who was their second wave of people, with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and I mean their defensive line was unbelievable. We saw the Super Bowl, so Tush Push is still unstoppable. The Eagles didn't play super well, but I mean they did what they do best. They played sound football. They didn't make any mistakes, or many mistakes, I should say, especially not nearly as many as the Cowboys did. And yeah, that pretty much sums up the game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, it was a great way to start the season on Thursday Night Football. Cowboys-Eagles, a chippy game. And yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the season for both these teams. The next game, which was on Friday night, is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Another chippy division game. And for a while there, I'm like, why is Drew Tranquill like so animated? And like he normally is, but it seemed more so. And it's like, oh, he played for the Chargers. That's where the Chiefs scooped him up off of. But yeah, you can tell that they're not super big fans of each other. Chargers might be a tough out this year. They look much improved, and the defense, I mean, their defense still looks good, even though it's not the most talented, and they lost quite a few people, They lost Poona Ford. They lost Joey Bosa and some other names, and I mean, shit, they played lights out. Honestly, their defense did really well outside of a couple miscues. The Travis Kelce touchdown, he kind of ran free, but let's be real, he just ran to the open zone. He just ran to the open space. Mahomes 224 for 39, 258 yards, 61 completion percentage, a 6.62 average and 1 TD. That's not great. Herbert, on the other hand, was 25 of 34, 318 yards, a 73% completion percentage. A 73 completion percentage, or 9.3 average per reception, and then 3 TDs. Herbert looked incredible, honestly. He looked how he was supposed to look his entire career thus far, and you love to see it because he's just a good kid, solid person. It's pretty wild. And I know all of those people who think that he's not good and Tua was better. Spoiler, seems like Herbert's a lot better than Tua is. Quentin Johnson, did he fix his hands? Did he get a hand transplant over the season? He didn't drop really many passes and looked quite confident, which is terrifying because that was pretty much his only issue. I mean, his speed, once he has the ball in his hands, he's a fucking track star. It's not... I mean, there's a reason why they select him in the first round at the end of the day, because he is an elite athlete and he's huge. He's a big dude. So Chargers offense can move the ball. I was really impressed with, I know I'm probably the number one hater for Greg Roman because just the whole Lamar thing, he kind of held him back in my opinion. And I'll let bygones be bygones because it seems like he's not doing the same thing that he did with Lamar. The offense looked great. The route concepts that he's running aren't Pop Warner level route concepts. There was some nuance in it. It was pretty crazy watching his offense function. And I mean, I love it. I don't wish him or the Chargers any ill will. And quite frankly, if I wasn't a Ravens fan, I'd probably be a Chargers fan. Thankfully, I'm not, because I like when the team that I root for wins Super Bowls. Sorry, Chargers. But quite frankly, the offense looked great. That could be because the Chiefs' defense isn't nearly as good as it's been in the past couple years. Or that could be just because the Chargers are going to be a fucking wagon this year. The pass catchers looked, I mean, Keenan Allen looks like he's 20 again. Um, Quentin Johnson, as I just said, obviously Lad McConkey was a dog. Their tight ends look great. Um, yeah, pretty much top to bottom, their pass catchers look pretty solid. The offensive line held up really well, and I cannot get the visual of Joe Alt anchoring like Lane Johnson against Chris Jones. They're gonna have a problem when Slater comes back, because who stays at the left tackle? Alt looked incredible, which is going to help them a lot this year, but next year they might have to make some decisions, because who's going to go back to right tackle? Hampton has that burst that we saw in college, and I just would love to see a little bit better vision from him, which is something that I didn't necessarily love about his college tape. But I mean, Jesus, man, he's got that burst. He's got that explosiveness that they didn't really have last year. I love Gus Edwards and I love J.K. Dobbins, but Dobbins isn't the Dobbins of Ohio State, and Gus Edwards hasn't been explosive really ever in his career, though he's been a dog. The run defense does still scare me against some of the more run heavy teams. I just I don't like the sacrificing, and I don't know if it's intentional. I don't know if it's a Brandon Staley, if that's carried over. I don't think it has, because Jesse Minter. I don't think that's intentional, but man, it scares, especially against teams like Baltimore, the Eagles, or I mean, I guess the Lions. Maybe more on that in a little bit. The Packers, just the very, very run dominant teams. Hampton did show the rookie some rookie stuff before the half. He didn't go out of bounds, or he went out of bounds, stopping the. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm misremembering that. Yeah, right before the half, he didn't go out of bounds, which cost them 3 points. Could have scored 3 points. It ended up not mattering, but that's a good learning lesson for the young pup. Um, yeah, Keenan Allen. Those are my notes for the Chargers. I was really impressed, honestly. I didn't know their defense was going to continue. Granted, Worthy got injured early, but yeah, I mean, they looked fucking good. I know it's week one, but they looked like a solid football team and someone who's going to be contending for the AFC West. On the other hand, the Chiefs didn't necessarily look as dominant as they have in years past. Normally they're pretty solid week one, but I mean, Kelsey runs into Worthy, which knocks him out of the game, and it seems like several weeks, unfortunately for them. I think he dislocated his shoulder. Mahomes, nothing to worry about there. He's still elite. He made some ridiculous. I mean, there was one throw, if I remember correctly, he was horizontal to the ground, and he does the Mahomian stuff. It's really annoying, especially when your team plays him. It's the same thing with Lamar or Allen or even Burrow, to a lesser extent athletically, but cerebrally, if that's even a word. Um, it's just fucking unbelievable, just the way he can get the ball out of his hands, and the way he gets the ball out of his hands and just avoid pressure. I wasn't super stoked on him trying to truck the defender after like acting like he was going to run out of bounds. Hopefully more defenders. I will say though, a lot of the Chargers players were really taking shots when they had the opportunity, which I love. If he's running near the sideline and he's not getting out of bounds to get another half yard or a couple yards, all the quarterbacks, any quarterback, even Lamar, but take it easy on him. You gotta fucking just hit him. Whether it's Allen or Herbert, or if they want to cheat the system and go for the extra yard because you're scared of getting a personal foul penalty, they're a runner. You're not going to get a personal foul penalty. Knock them out. Not out of the game, of course, but just go full early 2000s football, lower that shoulder, and hit them as hard as you fucking can. Please. Otherwise, you're going to get trucked like this last guy did. The offensive miscues, the offense just never really seemed, I don't know. Obviously, Worthy was probably a big part of the plan, which is kind of what you lose the guy who the whole offense is made for. Obviously not Mahomes, but you know what I'm saying. Like, clearly he was a big part of their plan, and when he went down 3 plays into the game, it was definitely something that it didn't jar them, but it just, what do you do, right? You take away the vertical speed. I know Hollywood Brown's great, but he doesn't have 4.2 speed like Worthy, even at his prime. Um, yeah, the offense. I mean, the running game. I know they love Pacheco, and I know they like Hunt and all that type of stuff, but they need a more explosive running game. I'm really surprised they didn't go after one of those running backs earlier in the draft because I'm just Pacheco's cool, but he's slow. So is Kareem Hunt. I mean, they need someone who's going to truly threaten, and they don't have that. Sure, the first time when Kareem Hunt was 20 years old, but it's been 6, 7 years. It just doesn't hit the same, and I just don't think Pacheco's that guy either. I mean, he's still a good. I don't want to say great. He's a good running back. He runs hard. He's a physical guy, but he shouldn't be your bell cow, and he shouldn't be what the run game is based off of. Offensive line, Simmons looked good. Um, the right tackle, I'm not super stoked on it. Juwan Taylor didn't look great. Um, yeah, the offense. I mean, until Rashee Rice comes back and Worthy comes back, I mean, they might even trade for somebody. There's rumors about Tyreek Hill, but they have $5 million in cap space, so not sure how you're going to fit his 30-something million a year salary. Unfortunately for them, Drew Tranquil. Sorry, Drew. Absolutely balled out. He played really fucking well. And again, didn't realize until like just now, not just now, but it was his old team, which is why he was so animated. And he just wants to show him like any player does. You shouldn't have gotten rid of me. The Travis Pat connection is still alive and well. Travis looks slow, in my opinion. Again, he's done things that I will never even think about or would never been able to do on a football field. But currently, in his current form, he just doesn't look very fast. Though he can still make plays, like obviously the touchdown. He's going to find the zone, right? But is he going to have the explosive plays that the offense needs? Nah, I don't know. He looks like he's 34, 35 years old, to be quite honest. But yeah, at the end of the day, they had multiple opportunities to win this game, and until otherwise, the Chiefs is still the Chiefs. There's not really much we can do about that because you have fucking Pat Mahomes, you have Chris Jones, you have Travis Kelce, and you have Andy Reid. And then also Spagnuolo, who's arguably one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. And their special teams coordinator as well, not Tobe. Maybe it is Tobe. Special teams coordinator, Chiefs. Tobe, yeah. So Dave Tobe. Yeah. They got 3 Hall of Fame coaches on their staff. I think they'll be just fine. Next, that pretty much sums that up. Sorry for the quick cut. We got to get through these games. It's actually quite difficult, especially by myself. Tampa Falcons. That was a great game. Tampa Bay versus the Falcons was a great game. Back and forth. I loved the way both of these teams played. Falcons defense actually looked quite improved. I loved that they were really trying to get the running game going early. I mean, you got to have Bijan around a little bit, He's electric, whether it's in the run game or even the pass game. I mean, probably up there with, not yet, he needs to do, obviously, but Christian McCaffrey when he's not injured, and then Saquon as far as like a run pass option. Just pretty, I mean, he's electric, man. I can't say enough good things about Bijan, and hopefully he has his breakout season. So he needs to be not used more often. I think he was used pretty fine. The defense looks much improved, and Jeff Ulbrich it seems like he just got the boys going. I know things ended poorly in the Jets, but the Jets is the Jets. Everything seems to end poorly with the Jets, unfortunately for them, though they did look pretty solid this week. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but defense looks much improved, and it was doing really well for the most part against an explosive Bucs offense. Now I know they didn't have their full line, and I understand they didn't have Godwin, some other people, but still, they had Ibuka, who might already be their wide receiver one. No, I'm just kidding. Mike Evans has that, but I mean, when all those players get healthy, McMillan, Godwin, Wirfs, obviously, the line can get back to playing normal. that's going to be a squad offensively. I think these are two teams that maybe not the Falcons. They might need another year or so, but the Bucks definitely are a contender in the NFC. And I know some people have taken them as their. But yeah, no, the Falcons defense, Penix, I can't say enough good things about him. He'll stand in the pocket, throws dimes. He has good awareness. Him and Baker both, and he'll just sit like, I don't know, just plays quarterback the right way. And man, he can make pretty much any throw on the field. Not the best play call on that 4th and 1 against Vita Vea, if I remember correctly. And why isn't Algier in on that? I know he's not explosive and all that type of stuff, but he's kind of your short yardage back. That was definitely a choice, in my opinion. But hey, I don't coach in the NFL. That being said, outside of that play and maybe a couple others, I will say that Zach Robinson, what he's doing, I really do enjoy kind of what the offense looks like, how he's trying to. I mean, there was several times where he was really trying to stress the defense by like sending Pitts on a crosser and then having someone come right behind him. And for a defense, it's very difficult to have that kind of communication and not communication, but it's when a lot of things are moving around. Jesus. When a lot of things are moving around. But Zach Robinson, I really enjoyed kind of what he did, how he called the game, when he was calling plays, where he was calling certain plays, and just the usage of everybody because they have a squad. Mooney was out, which affects them being able to stretch the field. But overall, they have a pretty solid room of weapons. I mean, just Pitts and London alone are two pretty. I know Pitts hasn't broken out yet, fantasy guys, but he's still an elite weapon, and it seemed like they were using him a bunch more, which is awesome. For the Bucks, it took them a little bit to settle down on offense, but they finally got into their rhythm. Baker can sling it, and I mean, outside of Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Burrow, I don't know if there's a better guy in the league with pocket presence. He just knows where to go, when to move up, when to break the pocket, when to get the yards, when to throw for the yards. I don't know. Baker's a great quarterback, and it's really unfortunate for the Browns because they had their quarterback and they let him go. It is what it is. Cleveland. Irving continues to defy the odds. Irving continues to defy the odds because he's tiny and he's an elite. He's got elite burst, even though he didn't run very well in the combine. And I don't understand how he gets these hard yards, and it's pretty wild, to be quite honest. But Irving looks to not have skipped a beat and dropped right back in when he did last year. Ibuka looked phenomenal. I think he's going to be, I mean, thankfully they drafted him. I know they got a lot of shit for it, but Ibuka, I mean, he called game, right? He's the one who scored the winning touchdown. There's a reason why Baker went to him, though I'm sure Evans had some love his way, but yeah, I mean, Ibuka looked great. 2 touchdowns? Let's see what his stat line was. Pretty sure he had 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 67 yards. And most importantly, one of the most important plays of the game, the game-winning touchdown. So yeah, Ibuka's first game was very impressive, to be quite honest, and I'm pretty excited for them. And I mean, like I said, when they get McMillan and Godwin back, is great. They have Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, and then forgetting their third running back, but they have a squad. They have a really good team, and their defense looked great. I know it got a little younger. And some new faces, and they lost some old faces and have some new younger faces, and I was impressed with kind of how they corralled Atlanta's defense, because I think Atlanta kind of not beat their ass last year, but they were just kind of scoring at will, if I remember correctly, their last couple matchups. So Bucks defense looks like I mean, you got Vita Vea, you got Winfield, who made the play of the game, made sure that the game was over, breaking up that pass in the end zone. Well, not the end zone, but right before the end zone. Winfield's a dog. He's one of the best safeties in the league, not named Kyle Hamilton. Sorry, Bucks fans. I know that the Falcons don't have the most elite defensive line. However, I will say that the makeshift offensive line that they had for the Bucks definitely held up pretty well. I'm pretty pretty impressed with kind of how they played and what they had. Barton at left tackle. They switched their guard to center, and then, I mean, not necessarily what I would have done, but hey, once Wirfs is back, that line is going to be solid. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they did what playoff contenders and Super Bowl contenders do. They made out, whether it was Antoine Winfield, whether it was Ibuka, they made plays when they needed to, and that's why they won the game. Overall, pretty impressed with both teams. AFC South might be a little more fun. I don't want to say a little more fun. They won't be fun outside of these two teams because I think the Panthers, obviously the Saints are going to be vying for the number one pick. And who knows if the Panthers can kind of get it together. I wasn't super impressed with anything that they did. The Jags just looked a league above them, but more on that in a minute. Yeah, it's a two-team race, and it's going to be exciting this year to see kind of where the Bucs end up and where the Falcons end up, and see kind of if they can really fight for that one of those wild card spots. But yeah, I would say it's one of the games. If not, I mean, outside the Ravens, Bills, and last night was a pretty solid game too. But I think it was one of the games of the week. The Falcons and the Bucs really showed out. And the next game we're going to go into is the Bengals at the Browns. Bengals defense may not be as bad as last year, but it still looks pretty bad, to be quite honest. It doesn't look much improved. The Browns don't really have, their line isn't very good. I mean, outside of Judy and Njoku, who do they have as pass catchers? You got Joe Flacco at quarterback, who was really check downy in this game. I'm not sure why. To start, I will say the Bengals, their first drive looked really crisp. It was really methodical. I think it was a 12 play, ended up with a touchdown, and then it was pretty good with, you had Chase Brown running the ball a little bit, Burrow slinging it around the yard. I mean, it looked really crisp, which could have been the first 15 as well, first 15 plays called, but at the end of the day, kind of stalled out throughout the rest of the day. Burrow was getting fucking terrorized. He got sawed in half twice. I forget who did it the first time, but kind of the same deal. It was like the Myles Garrett hit everyone has seen. Fucking just a stunt. Garrett comes around the middle. The same thing happened on the previous one too. Stunt coming around the middle. That interior of their offensive line scares me. I know they've been trying to fix it for Burrow's entire career, but death, taxes, and the Bengals O-line being bad. Unless the Browns defensive line is the most elite unit ever, I don't really think it's going to be a good D-line, but are we talking about Eagles last year, or are we talking about, just like above average defensive line in the NFL? Obviously, Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the NFL. I'm not saying anything against him, but who else do they have on the edges? Yeah, they have Mason Graham, but he's also a rookie. I don't know. I'm just not necessarily thrilled with their defense, their secondary's solid. I think Chase said that Ward is the best corner he has to face. Schlesinger, I will say, actually also looked really good. That was a high draft pick. Their second round draft pick. He made a bunch of plays, which is good to see. When linebackers, it usually bodes well if they start making plays early, because it is a position that takes a little bit to get going. Though their offense kept stalling. Joe Flacco was really check downy. I don't know if I already said that, but wasn't super. I don't understand why he was. I mean, maybe the Bengals secondary was in tight coverage the whole time, but it just kept stalling, and I don't know. Other than that, I mean, Flacco looked solid. He looked like a veteran quarterback running an offense with a bunch of with some rookies and some other people. Samson does look like he's going to get a lot of burn. I'm interested in seeing Judkins when he finally gets there. Yeah, I mean, that's funny. So I mentioned Samson. Browns really love the swing pass to Samson. LOL is the note that I wrote. But he looked good. He looks explosive, more explosive than anyone that I've saw that they had the past couple years. I love Nick Chubb, but just the multiple knee injuries, it is what it is there, unfortunately. On to the Bengals. Their secondary's grabby. Again, their defense, I don't know. It didn't look very good. It didn't look, I mean, the Browns scored 16 points, so it didn't look bad, but the Browns also don't have an offense. Their secondary's grabby, so I'm hoping that better wide receivers can. Also don't like the Bengals. Full transparency. I'm a Ravens fan, not a big Bengals guy. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. I love T. Higgins, Hendrickson. I just do not like you, fan base, or the organization. And you shouldn't like the organization either. It's wild that you're a fan of that team. Enough about that, though. Again, their O-line's awful. It just looked overmatched, couldn't handle stunts, which is why Joe Burrow got sawed in half 15 times. He just keeps getting rocked every game. It's really sad. I do really like Noah Fant and Gesicki in that tight end room. That's a really solid tight end room. And then obviously T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. So their offense is going to be unbelievable. O-line be damned. Their offense is going to be unbelievable. I know they're just going to get in their groove and they're going to put up 45 points. It's just whether or not their defense can hold the other team to less than 45 points. And from what I saw last year, maybe Al Golden will help, but their secondary was grabby and didn't really seem like too much pass rush. So I don't know. I'm not super impressed with the Bengals. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, Bengals might be in the 4th spot. And I understand, Jeremy, remove the starting quarterback from any team, and they're going to be in the 4th place of the division. And it's like, yes, but their team would be dog shit. The Ravens would still win games. The Eagles would, I'm not saying all the games, but the Ravens would still win games. The Eagles would still win games. We've seen the Chiefs over the years win games without Mahomes or Alex Smith. I don't know. I don't like what they did on the team. They're utilizing so much cap space on 4 players. And they haven't been the best team at drafting in the past 4 or 5 years, which is why they are in this situation. But yeah, I mean, Bengals and Browns, classic AFC North matchup. It was it was a physical bout. I wouldn't have watched it if I didn't do a podcast on NFL games, but hey, it is what it is. Next, we have MVP frontrunner Daniel Jones versus what the hell happened to Tua Dolphins Colts. I don't know what's going on in Miami, but it is not good, to be quite honest. Unfortunately for Dolphins fans, man, it looked bad. There was no heart. There was, outside of Tyreek Hill bitching in the second half, before the end of the first half, there's no fight in that team. Tua looked awful. Tua looked so bad. And maybe Xavier Howard, I heard he said to someone that you just get onto his first read and he becomes a pedestrian quarterback. Maybe he's right or maybe he's wrong. I don't know. We'll see. But he looked really right there because they didn't have any answers. The Dolphins looked lost. The offense looked out of sorts. The defense looked overmatched by the Colts, which, is Daniel Jones a guy? Or is the Colts offense legit? I mean, they have arguably a top 5 pass catcher, especially now that they added Tyler Warren. More on that in a second. But I don't know. The defense was pretty stout against the run. I didn't really see any explosive plays outside a couple runs from Gibson, I think. Gibson for the Colts, but I don't know. A-Chain, I just feel like this team has way too much talent to be awful and losing to the Colts by 30, because I don't understand, man. They've invested. I know they traded Ramsey away. They got rid of Jonnu Smith, who they probably could have used this week. I don't know, man. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing, and it is beyond me how Chris Grier still has a job. I do not understand. He has not put together amazing rosters. He's actually hamstrung this team. We're not talking about fuck them picks, McVay, or the cap isn't real Saints. He He went all in one year, and man, did he, I don't know gambling terminology, but it ended up on red, and he put it all on black. So pretty wild. Yeah, Tua nightmare game. I think he had multiple picks. I think he had two picks. He had one bad to Latu Island. Um, it's just I don't know, and quite frankly, the play calling too. McDaniel, like, did the league catch up to his brilliance, or I don't know what's going on in Miami. It's the players don't listen to the coach. It's hard to know what the hell's going on when you're not in the locker room. But man, it doesn't look good at all, and it's kind of sad because I mean Tyreek Hill's just pouting on the on the sideline, and rightfully so because no one seems to want to be there. On the other hand, though, the Colts, everything looked improved. The defense looks great, and Lou Anarumo seems to be changing everything kind of in Indy. I think, not Del Rio, who was their defensive coordinator last year? DC, Indy, no. Gus Bradley. Lou Anarumo, like, I think things just got stale with Gus Bradley. The whole cover three, Legion of Boom, I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was working last year because, as Pat McAfee would say, they had way too much talent on defense to be doing what they were doing. They have way too much talent on that team to be doing what they were doing last year. People not working and all that type of stuff. That's not my battle to fight. Seems like everything's changed drastically, and it's with defense. It starts with Lou Anarumo. Tyler Warren still looks like a man amongst boys, and he's in the men's league now. I think he's going to be a Gronk-esque type person where it's just throw it to him, let him run 7 people over, and score a touchdown. He was really impressive, and they used him in, I mean, 4, 5, 6 different ways. I mean, hell, I think he was even a wildcat quarterback at one point. And he can throw the ball, so who knows what they're going to do. Taylor had a few runs that I saw, but Giddings seemed to be getting more chunk plays, and quite frankly, he just looked better. I don't know how that's going to shape up for the rest of the seasons, or the rest of the season, but I don't think it really matters. Taylor's been paid, so he's going to probably get quite a bit of a burn. I wasn't super impressed with their run blocking, which I think is an issue. Granted, they're trying to figure things out with Fries and Kelly leaving, two stalwarts of that offensive line. So that's going to take a couple weeks probably to get going. I mean, I already mentioned their weapons. They have Pittman, Warren, Pierce, I mean, a plethora of riches. Do they have, no, they don't have Downs, do they? I think they have Downs. Josh Downs. Yep. Yeah. Plays for the Colts. Yeah, they have Downs. I mean, they had just an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position. And I know no one's elite, but Pittman's a great quarterback. Pittman's a great wide receiver. So I don't know. Colts look like the real deal. You beat bad teams and you want to beat them good. So Dolphins look awful. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if McDaniel is going to make it. I don't know if McDaniel or Greer will make it through the season, to be quite honest, if they continue putting up efforts like that, because it was just, I mean, fuck, dude, it was embarrassing. It was bad. I know Dolphins fans everywhere are probably pretty upset. Daniel Jones, I can't go over this game without even talking about Daniel Jones. That's fucking wild. He looked legit. I believe he had some stats that haven't been done in the NFL before. I don't know the specific stats, so forgive me. Daniel Jones, let's see his day. He had a day, and he is MVP as it stands. I probably won't stay there, and who knows how the rest of the season is going to shape up. And if the Dolphins are awful, that's probably why. I mean, this game, let's see, his QBR was 87, completion percentage 75, almost 76, 272 passing yards, 1 touchdown. I think he had 2 more on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh. And then some yards, some rushing yards on the ground as well. So, let's see. So he had 2 rushing touchdowns, 7 carries for 26 yards. Not bad. Not that you want but yeah, so 2 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, he did have that one hit by Judon that he just got rocked, but It's wild. You have these quarterbacks that go to these teams and organizations, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Browns, whether it's the Giants. Sorry, fan bases of those teams. Um, they just where you get drafted and who your coaches are and who you have. I mean, the Jags too. Like, if not for Cohen, well, I mean, we'll see. Can Cohen salvage Trevor Lawrence because he's had a shit show of Urban Meyer, you know what I mean, and then Doug Peterson, and it's been awful. So Daniel Jones seems to be revitalized. The team seems to be galvanized behind him, which is awesome to see because man, he had a fucking rough go of it. But yeah, Daniel Jones, MVP, first in MVP voting. I'm just kidding. That's Josh Allen, unfortunately, for this Ravens fan. But yeah, no, Daniel Jones looked great. It looks like he successfully learned a bunch at Vikings University, taught by Kevin O'Connell. So that's enough about that game. Raiders Pats. Raiders looked great. Their passing game looks pretty pretty solid. I mean, it helps having having a viable quarterback. I know Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, I think, or whatever their quarterbacks were last year, that will probably be backups, maybe, if they're lucky for the rest of the year. It was a pretty sloppy game penalty wise. It's hard to get a good read on how good both of these teams are. Neither one's supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. So are the Patriots bad? Are the Raiders good? Are the Raiders slightly less bad than the Patriots? We'll see once they start playing other teams. Um, they both, from top to bottom, looked much improved, to be quite honest. On really both sides of the ball, the Raiders' defense looked pretty solid. Their offense looked significantly better. Genty looks like Genty. If he can get a viable offensive line, he's gonna be a fucking dog, and you love to see it when he has some room to run. He's Genty of Boise. So the offensive line has plays where they look insane, and then unfortunately for Genty, he'll get in the backfield 3 yards deep. So I'm sure there's some things they need to figure out there, but for the most part, we'll kind of see what they got going on for the rest of the year. But I mean, their passing game looks much better. Although I am afraid of Bowers being out for a little while. It's kind of scary, to be quite honest, because he's obviously their wide receiver one. Thornton looked good in the couple targets he had. Yeah, Geno still has that deep ball, one of the best in the league. Raiders D-line is just a bunch of junkyard dogs, led by the most junkyardiest dog of all time, Max Crosby. He's still unbelievably difficult to just. I don't know what you do with Max Crosby. It's unfortunate for every team that isn't the team that you're. It's unfortunate for everyone who isn't a fan of his team because he is just elite. I don't want to say just under that Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons level, but I mean, he's right there. He does everything that they do and more. I mean, you could argue that he's a better run defender than Micah Parsons, but you're splitting hairs, and Micah Parsons is 20-something years old, but he's just a troll. He's a pest. You hate him if he's not on your team, but you love him if he is. Patrick Graham is a wizard. They don't really have that much talent, and I mean, their defense looked pretty solid, which again, the Patriots offense, their line isn't very good, or I should say they're young. We'll see. It's week one. Week one's a liar, as Mark Sanchez says. But yeah, I mean, everything on their team looked better. Their offense and defense both looked light years better than where they were last year. For the Pats, took them a little bit for their offense to settle in. The defense looks much improved. I know I was raving about the Raiders, but the defense of the Pats kind of held them in check, and it's I don't know, just super. I mean, Milt Williams was making plays. It was really good to see Barmore back because that's obviously blood clots is a scary thing. And he looks to be regaining his dominance. And like all the boys over there, they look much improved. Harold Landry looked good. It's weird seeing him in number 2, but hey, we're in 2025 now, so they can wear whatever they want. May loves Hunter Henry, so it's nice that he has a tight end that he can trust, and he's gonna kind of keep that going. Travion Henderson looks just as explosive, if not more. He's fast, man. He's going to be really fun to watch for a very long time. And by that I mean a running back career, but he's going to be. I think he's going to be really good. He's just explosive in the pass game. He can catch the ball just as well as anybody. Maybe outside of Saquon and Christian McCaffrey, and even then, like he might be in that echelon in the next couple games, next couple years, because I mean he was catching the ball fluid out of the backfield. He was pretty solid in pass pro from what I saw, the few reps that I saw him there. And yeah, Butte looks like wide receiver one in this offense. I'm sure it's going to bounce around from week to week. I'm sure some weeks it's going to look like Diggs, Butte, and I think Pop Douglas is another guy who may seem to really like. Will Campbell had a not rough, but he had a couple false starts, and I don't know. We'll see. It's early, it's early. We'll see if those arms are an issue, but nothing too crazy. I mean, it's a Vrabel team, so I'm sure he's going to make him learn the lesson and get them all sorted. Same thing as last year. Some moments of brilliance for May, but also I don't know. It's the pressure that he was getting. You just hope that it doesn't. The pressure that was coming to him. You just hope that it wasn't. It's not going to affect him. Like I don't want to say consistently. I don't know how to explain it. The pressure when he's not pressured, he's phenomenal. But when he is pressured, it's May is he has moments of brilliance for May, but pressure was his downfall a lot of the time. And I mean, pressure is the downfall of any quarterback, to be quite honest. Unfortunately, Tom Brady lost two Super Bowls because of pressure. So looked like his mistakes, the biggest mistakes that he made, were pressure driven. So hopefully the O line can kind of solidify over the year. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed with the Raiders, and who knows if that matters, because the Patriots might stink or they might be a 10-win team like some people think. Both teams did improve though, so good on you, Pats fans. Good on you, Raiders fans. Next up, it would have been the Cardinals Saints if the Saints weren't vying for the number one spot, and I didn't want to watch 16 games instead of 15. Steelers Jets, another one of the games of the week, in my opinion. Rodgers and Muth are going to be a lethal combo. I think he's going to love feeding Freiermuth. Artie Smith is going to feast with that play action. And I really liked how you could tell that Artie Smith was calling most of the game, but then at certain points allowed Rodgers to kind of do Rodgers stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a 40-year-old quarterback, four-time MVP, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So you got to let him do that. I was not impressed. I was interested in seeing Gainwell kind of being the RB1. You'd think that would be Warren, but they really liked Gainwell, and quite frankly, he did everything that he needed to do. He caught the ball well. He did pass pro well. And then obviously he ran the ball well. So definitely interesting to see him as RB1, but I'm sure that'll change over the year when Caleb Johnson kind of gets going and everyone's raring to go. Yeah, Gainwell, TJ is still TJ. TJ Watt is still TJ Watt, in case anyone was wondering. The most dominant defensive player not named Myles Garrett, and you can make an argument. I know this is a fucking argument for Pittsburgh fans and all that type of stuff, and you guys hate each other for it. There's a beef there, but I mean, TJ is still TJ. You love to see it. Highsmith looked great. The defense looked pretty solid, but I am scared that the Jets scored 30 on them. Their secondary didn't look very much improved, even though they invested a lot in Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay. And I think they brought over Chuck Clark. So I wasn't super impressed with their secondary. Fields did look like he took another step up but that being said, Jalen Ramsey did close the game out with that big hit on Garrett Wilson, which was very impressive. Rodgers just looks like he is 2 years removed from an Achilles injury, and he looks like he's much better off, because that seems to be the thing. 2 years removed from the Achilles, everything kind of seems to get a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, Steelers look great. Boz is still Boz too. TJ's TJ. Boz is Boz. Boz seals it with the 60-yarder, and I mean, at the end of the day, he's an elite kicker, and I mean, they got Denny Smith, special teams coordinator with the big old wad of gum chewing. Yeah, I mean, Steelers look great. I think Rodgers is going to be a steadying presence on that offense. And I think one thing I am scared, their offensive line, like Rodgers isn't as mobile, obviously, because he's 40, as he used to be. Offensive line, Broderick Jones, I don't know. For 16 games, maybe he'll get better. I don't know. But that scares me with a 40-year-old quarterback, even if it is Aaron Rodgers. His arm looks just fine, but he can't move like he used to, obviously. For the Jets, Fields looks way better. Way better. I mean, he looks far, far and away. I don't want to say a different quarterback, but I mean, he was making throws. Wilson probably helps with that quite a bit. But he was much improved as a passer. He's still an elite run threat. I mean, the only other person that I would say is the only other person that I would say that would be better, or the only other couple people would be like Lamar and maybe Kyler. Still has that elite run threat, which you saw quite a bit. He seems a lot more confident in what he's seeing. I don't know if that's because, I mean, obviously whatever happened in Chicago just fucked him up, but I don't know if that was how it went in Pittsburgh last year, or he just seems just so much more confident. And it's wild because I don't want to say it's a similar offense, but they're doing play action and stuff like that too. Quinnen Williams had a day. He's just as dominant. I know if I remember correctly, he had a little bit of a down year last year. Breece Hall looks back, and he needs more burn than Allen. I get they have the big kid, but it's a different game that they're playing. Breece Hall is explosive as all fuck, and Allen is a solid running back, but I don't know. They just got to feed Breece Hall. He needs to be the bell cow and let Allen come in sparingly. Another thing I was really impressed was him catching the ball out of the backfield. Like there was one pass, if I remember correctly, where he like not 360, but like fluidly caught it, took it up the sideline, and it was really impressive. Will McDonald, another guy, which I know everyone was afraid because he was lean. He was lean. He wasn't too good in the run game, all that type of stuff. But he looks like he's arrived. And then obviously Jermaine Johnson coming back from injury. That defense is still going to be good. You're going to have the offense, which obviously, I mean, if they're putting up 30 something points on the Pittsburgh D, who everyone would say is a top 5 defense, not a bad offense. I think the Jets are going to be a tough out all year, and I'm excited for it because they were a fun team to watch, and you love that for Alvin Gentry. Jesus, I am not doing well with coaches today. Yeah, no, Jets. Aaron Glenn. Jesus, yeah, awful day for for my name recognition with coaches. I'm having a Dolphins kind of day with name recognition for coaches. I forgot who Kevin O'Connell, top 5 coach in the NFL was, and then Aaron Glenn, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL for the past several years. I mean, shit, just look what he did with the Giants last year, but definitely a good guy, and I'm excited to see what he does with the Jets this year because they looked significantly improved. Giants, Commanders, super sloppy game with penalties. Both teams were culpable. I don't know how many there were on each side, but it didn't look great. Flott was getting picked on early, but then he settled down and actually made I don't want to say game-changing play, but lessened the beating that they got from the Commanders, who pretty much controlled the game offensively the whole day. He settled down and then saved a touchdown. Maybe QB3, QB2, cornerback 3 is an issue, but we need to see a little bit more of it. I don't know why they weren't playing Banks. That was interesting. So I guess Flott has taken over Banks' role. Maybe Banks hasn't been playing well in camp and all that type of stuff. I don't know. Neighbors is getting the bracket treatment. He was doubled quite a few times that I saw, and it seemed like everyone wanted to let Russ beat. It seemed like the game plan for the Commanders was let's not let Neighbors beat us. So he's going to have to get used to getting doubled and all that type of stuff because it was quite. I mean, he still made his catches, he still made his plays, but at the end of the day, it's welcome to being a superstar. Neighbors. Everyone knows it. Uh, everyone saw what you did last year, so welcome, congratulations. Now you're doubled every every play. Um, I don't know. I know some people said Russ didn't have the worst day. I thought it was awful. I didn't think he was very good. Um, wasn't super impressed. I don't know how long until Jackson Dart is going to be QB1. Or I mean, they toss Jameson if they want to let. I know they have a rough stretch of games to start, but I don't know until when they're going to allow him. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but I just wrote Russ stinks. I wasn't super impressed, and I understand. I mean, it's the same shit that you saw in Pittsburgh, right? Granted, their offensive line wasn't super good. It was better than what I saw in Pittsburgh last year, but it's still. I mean, Russ was still under duress, and it just wasn't super fun for him. But the main thing with that offensive line, though, is that it could not get it. I think Russ led the league. Jesus, led the team in rushing. I think he had 44 yards, if I remember correctly, and I think Tyron Tracy and everyone else averaged like 2 yards a carry, which also didn't help Russ out, to be objective. But yeah, the three and outs kind of wore on the defense. You saw that. It's tough. It's tough on a defense when your offense doesn't get anything going. Like, at least if they sustained a drive, like they did the first couple plays or the first couple drives. But once the Commanders kind of figured out what they were trying to do, I don't know. It's just tough. Like, not even being able to get a break and then going back. And I'm just talking from experience in high school and a little bit in college. Like, I couldn't imagine going against the best athletes in the world or some of the best athletes in the world and having to deal with that. But yeah, I wasn't super impressed. Abdul Carter, Jesus Christ, he looked a little bit like a rookie, but golly, once he figures it out, he's gonna be a problem. And I mean, that defensive line, they did pretty well. It's just Jaden Daniels had all the answers. Anytime there was pressure in his face, he knew exactly where to go with the ball and where it would be taken advantage of. Usually by Cordell Flott, unfortunately for him. But yeah, I don't know. They had one. So speaking on the defense, it was one rushing yard. One rushing yard with 6 minutes left in the third. The dichotomy of their run blocking. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but Russell Wilson had the longest run of the day so far, and that was 6 minutes left in the third. I'd also like to see Carter get a little more time. He had a pretty good rush against Tunsil, and I was thoroughly impressed. I don't know. I get it. You have to let Thibodeau and obviously, you're not going to. I mean, Burns is $30 million guy, so you're not going to let him. But I could see Carter getting some more burn over the season, and like throw the NASCAR package in there. Like, I don't know what they have to do, but Giants kind of giants around. We'll see how long until Jameis or Dart are quarterback, because it just didn't look good. And I don't know. You're going to lose the team. You're going to lose the locker room. Dable and Neighbors kind of had a little back and forth, but yep. That's pretty much it. On the Commander side, Jaden Daniels may not have that sophomore slump. Again, like I said before, he had all the answers, and it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. I don't understand how he can just be that poised under pressure, in the pocket, his presence, all that type of stuff. And quite frankly, I don't know if there's a person better. So Lamar, in my opinion, unbiasedly, objectively, obviously, being a Ravens fan, is the best at the RPO. And I think the only person who's in that tier of Lamar is Jaden Daniels, because holy fuck, there were some times where it was just, I mean, it's, what do you do, right? What do you do as a defender? You think the ball's going one way? It's tough out there. Defense looks like or more on the offense. They haven't skipped a beat. I really like the way they use Debo. I'm excited to see that kind of evolve over the season. Definitely something that they needed last year, and it's gonna be interesting just seeing again, like I said, how it evolves. But the defense looks pretty solid. I know it's the Russell Wilson Giants, so who knows how solid. But I mean, Lattimore looked good. I think he had one play where he locked up Neighbors in man pretty well. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. The Commanders look like the Commanders of last year, and they added some pieces. They added, I mean, Lattimore hopefully will be healthy all year. I know they added him at the end of last year, but um, yeah, Commanders look like the Commanders. Jaden hasn't skipped a beat. The offense hasn't skipped a beat. We'll see how the defense holds up against some of the other teams that have much better offenses, but the D line looked great. It didn't seem like they were missing Allen too much, though. Again, can't say this enough. Giants O line stinks, so that's that. Next up, we have Panthers Jags. I'm not going to go too in depth because the Panthers look pretty bad. They're just devoid of talent. I mean, unless the Jags D is elite, which I don't. I mean, they might be good, but are they going to be like ass whooping elite? I don't know. Panthers just, I don't know. Young was under duress a lot of the day. He throws some hospital balls. I just I wasn't super impressed with kind of what the Panthers did. I feel like they jumped the gun with letting Thielen walk and shoot, who's that wide receiver that they have? And Xavier Legette just doesn't look like he took the next step, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know. Their defense didn't look very good either, to be quite honest. They just don't have the talent, and quite frankly, the Jags made them look outmatched. And I don't know. I mean, McMillan Ted Aurora McMillan had a couple catches, but they got another year or two before they'll be doing anything. And I think the South, I think they're going to be fighting with the Saints for the. That's unfair to say because Bryce Young was playing really well last year, but I think they might be fighting for that third and fourth spot in the NFC South because it's certainly not going to be the Falcons or the Bucks. So I think it's them and the Saints, and then them and the Saints, Bucks and the Falcons, or I should say Falcons, Bucks. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. But the Jags, I mean, they look good. Trevor Lawrence didn't look bad. It seemed to be much improved from last year. Etienne is the bell cow, which is obviously why they traded Bigsby to Philly, as I mentioned before. I mean, Trevor Lawrence just seemed like he was taken, kind of like Baker when he was getting settled, just taking what the offense gives him. I mean, he didn't look incredible. He didn't look like the next one that he was billed to be, but he looks improved, and I think that's going to grow over the year. The defense of the Jags also looked improved, but obviously the Panthers might stink. Olakun? I can't not say. I mean, he had a day. Yep, don't know how to say his name. Olakun was. I mean, he was making plays all over the field. He's going to steady that linebacker unit, and you love to see it as a 30-year-old line. Jesus Christ, he's not born in 95. I was born in 91. Obviously, he's 30. I'm 34. Yeah, you love to see it. I mean, when that's the position I played, linebacker. So you just love to see when they kind of ball out, when linebackers play well. And he had a fucking day. I think he had a forced fumble. I think he had a pick, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. He was just all over the field and really just playing very well. Travis Hunter, didn't really see much. They didn't really use him too much on offense, and obviously not on defense as well. I think he had 6 snaps on defense, which has been done before. Just so you know, Jaguars. There have been people who have played 6 snaps and some on offense, so let's pump the brakes on that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see once the Jags play a little bit better competition. They did look improved, and it didn't seem like Lawrence was completely lost, since he's on his 4th or 5th offensive coordinator in his entire career, which is like 5 years, 6 years. Next game would be Titans and Broncos. I didn't watch this one too in depth, but I will say that in my opinion, I did watch the full thing. I'm sorry, I'm talking out of my ass. I would argue that Cam Ward, outside of the 2 sacks he took, which got them out of field goal range, if I remember correctly, outplayed Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix looked pretty bad. I think he was under constant pressure. Jeffrey Simmons was by far the reason why that second pick happened, which, to be fair, if Jeffrey Simmons was barreling down on me, I'd be terrified and shitting my pants as well. So we get it. we definitely get it. No harm, no foul there, Bo Nix. But yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, he just looked like he had command of the offense. He looked like a leader out there, and that's not normally what you see in a rookie quarterback. Jeffrey Simmons, again, like I said, absolute animal. I mean, quite frankly, if there weren't several drops, I think it was more than several. I think it was like 5 or 6. You can make an argument that the Titans should have won this game. I just wasn't super impressed with the Broncos. And is that a Titans are a lot better than we think situation, or is that a Broncos aren't as good as we think? I mean, Mina and everyone's saying Broncos are the best defense in the league, best defense in the league, best defense in the league, and it's like a rookie was coming out there and kind of balling. And again, if there weren't a bunch of drops from his receivers, it'll beat that best defense in the league. So I know Pops was pretty upset in the stands, which I get it. Like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, when it just drop, and you see your kid just running away, doing everything that I think Cam's going to be legit, to be quite honest. And I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be bad, but he didn't have his best game. And that, I mean, to be fair though, that Titans defense is legit. Who's their defensive coordinator? Titans. They stole him from Baltimore, DC, the universe. What's the shit about that? Yeah, Denard Wilson. I'm sorry. That was why the secondary had so many issues last year with communication, is because Denard Wilson left from the Ravens. Denard Wilson had those boys playing lights out, to be quite honest. And I know that the Broncos weren't going to have the most explosive offense this year, or aren't going to be known to have the most explosive offense. But I mean, even what Denard Wilson did last year with the defense and the pieces or lack thereof that he had, it was pretty impressive. So yeah, I mean, Broncos got the game. Courtland Sutton looks great. Broncos got the dub. Bo Nix did just enough to win. The defense did well, and then obviously with the drops, Courtland Sutton, just a throwback receiver, taking shots. Does Bo Nix throw quite a few hospital balls? I feel like he does. And I don't know. I need to see more from Bo Nix before I start crowning him. Or I know Sean Payton loves him, which he knows way more football than I do. I'm not acting like I don't. But personally, I wouldn't want to start a franchise with Bo Nix. But we'll see. Maybe I'm going to be a dumbass and he'll be an MVP conversation later on in the year. But yeah, I just wasn't super impressed with Bo Nix or anything that they did. The defense looked solid, but again, outside of a couple drops, Cam Ward probably would have won the game. So maybe the Broncos don't have the best defense in the league. And yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is a monster. Courtland Sutton's cool. Pretty much my biggest takeaways. It wasn't the most entertaining game, which is why I haven't really talked too much in depth about it. Next up, we have the 49ers and Seahawks. Both of these teams look like they can be something, to be quite honest. The offense needs a little work. I think the line needs to solidify a little bit, but Mike Mack continues to be the Shanahan killer, even though they didn't win. There were multiple plays where he knew exactly what Shanahan was running, and if anyone remembers when Mike Macdonald was on the Baltimore Ravens as the defensive coordinator, I think he damn near pitched a shutout multiple times against the 49ers, the vaunted 49ers, not the 49ers of now, the 49ers that were like Super Bowl contending team, and just waxed them. So I think that trend continues, especially now that he has Ernest Jones, the solidifying factor in his defense. You need a rangy linebacker. I just love the way they play, obviously, because that's how they played in Baltimore when he was the defensive coordinator there. Defense is fast and flies around. They have that bend don't break mentality, and Jesus, was it tough sledding in the red zone for the 49ers. They really struggled. That's where they actually really, really struggled. Outside of a couple drives, but Yeah, I mean, I love how they're always, you see, even when the play's over, they're ripping at the ball. They're always constantly ripping at the ball, which is something that Mike McDonald was very, sorry to keep bringing up the Ravens, but that's kind of what he was known for in the locker room and all that type of stuff. I think it was shots on goal is what they called it. Um, yeah, I was really impressed with the defense. I loved the Lawrence addition in the offseason. Um, I think Leonard Williams had a day. Witherspoon's lighting up people 3 times his size, and I I just love what I saw in their defense. They could use a couple more pieces, but I mean they're just a fast and physical bunch. It's kind of throwback to the Legion of Boom, but obviously they're not there yet. They can be, but not yet. Charbonnet is just a speedy pinball, is what I wrote. I really liked how they used play action and to kind of open up the element for Sam Darnold. I know that's not necessarily what they did with Kevin O'Connell last year. They did more like over the middle of the field and all that type of stuff. But obviously, Clint Kubiak, I don't know if y'all know, but Gary Kubiak, architect of one of, well, I mean, he's an architect. It's, you go down to Shanahan, Mike Shanahan. He runs deep, Gary Kubiak. His dad is probably a Hall of Fame offensive coordinator if I had to guess. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Um, but I really just loved how he didn't give up on the run even though it wasn't working to start, and then just the play action and stuff like that. I mean, the offense has a ways to go. That they need to kind of get. Oh, it's tough. They switched their quarterback. They switched their offensive coordinator. A lot's changed. And then obviously you lose DK Metcalf, you lose Tyler Lockett, input Cooper Kupp. It's one of those things where it's going to take some time, but I was pleasantly surprised with the Seahawks. And are they going to be contending for the NFC this year? Probably not, but I could see them in a year or two being right up there with the best of them. As for the 49ers, um, everything looked better, which is crazy. I mean, their run defense was much, much better than last year, which is crazy because they have so many young players playing on it. They have a lot of rookies in the secondary and on the defensive line and playing big spots. And I mean, they looked like they'll be contending in the NFC again. Purdy did have a couple, which that's Mike McDonald for you, but Purdy did have a couple inexplicable picks, which didn't help. Normally he's good at kind of evading and not having those boneheaded plays, but he did unfortunately have that. D Winters, I love Dre Greenlaw. He's was one of my favorite players in the NFL, but I don't think they're going to miss him at all with D Winters. That guy was fucking flying around, filling gaps, ripping at the ball. I think he caused a forced fumble, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's not. I mean, he is the best. He is the best spot. He's playing next to the arguably one of the greatest linebackers of all time in Fred Warner. And I know that's a little premature, but I mean, Fred Warner's been the standard for what 5, 6, 7 years now. So he literally the prototype of the new age linebacker, and by far, like, love Roquan. Fred Warner's number one, and everyone else is down here. So uh, definitely makes it a little easier for D Winters, but at the end of the day, he's still making plays. He's still flying and feeling hard, doing all that type of stuff. He's just physical. You love to see it. I mean, him and Greenlaw, Warner and Greenlaw reminded me of Bowman and Patrick Willis, but like it's just funny. They always have to have their two stud linebackers. You love to see it. Like I said, the run defense was much improved. But at the end of the day, man, when it matters, they seem to make plays. You had Bosa who called game with a strip sack, and then obviously Purdy throws a touchdown for the go ahead for the lead. I think that the team's still going to be a problem, to be quite honest. Even though Purdy did have 2 bad picks, the first wasn't necessarily his fault, but probably shouldn't have thrown it. And then the second one was just Mike Mack, like I said before. But all in all, I think that this team is going to be there when it's all said and done. Not when it's all said and done. They're going to make the playoffs, and who knows if they can make a run. And who knows how much they get better. They had McCaffrey back. He looked great. Um, yeah, both teams promising start. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that can kind of clean up. Scoring wasn't the best or the easiest on either of these defenses. It seemed like there was a lot of going back and forth with the offenses, but I don't know. It's week one, right? I remember last year when what's his name? I forget his name. I don't know. Some asshat was saying that we need to ban cover two because it's making the game boring. Yeah, okay. I think more points were scored last year than any. Granted, 17 games, but still, it's pretty wild what some people will say into microphones. And I know, hand up, I will be one of those people at times. Please forgive me for the nonsense that I spout. But yeah, both of these teams, um, great teams. They're both going to be good. Our 49ers are going to be a great team because they just know they've been there before. They know how to do it. And then the Seahawks have the makings of a great team, and I'm very, very excited to see kind of where they're at. Speaking of great teams, the Packers look fucking good. This was a belt to ass game. BTA as we call it in sports and stuff like that. I know it's early, but my main takeaway is that the Micah Parsons trade was a success for the Packers, and yeah, that was that was pretty wild. I know he didn't play. I think he only played 40% of the snaps or whatever, but caused a pick with the Evan Williams pick caused that straight up because Jared Goff was like, please, no, anywhere but I don't want the ball, hot potato. And then obviously had a sack in garbage time, more or less. But man, did the Packers look fucking good? Their offense looked great. It was it was it was tough sledding for the Lions, who a year ago had one of the most prolific offenses in NFL history. Parsons had Sewell in a blender, and Sewell is largely regarded as the best tackle in football outside of Lane Johnson, which Lane Johnson, there's some in pass pro, there's some gap between the two. Lane Johnson's the best tackle in football, especially after how we saw Trent Williams play. I didn't bring that up, but um, yeah, Micah Parsons is a fucking problem. And Micah Parsons made Rashawn Gary better. Micah Parsons made Van Ness better. Micah Parsons makes the whole defense better. And like Micah Parsons said in his interview, I've never had a defense that I didn't have a Pro Bowl corner. Why is that? Speeds things up quite a bit. I don't. The energy on the Packers was just entirely different. And the defense was physical. It was flying around. They might have the fastest. I mean, between Quay Walker, you have Edger and Cooper, McKinney, Evan Williams, Micah Parsons. Obviously, you have Devontae Wyatt, who was one of the faster interior players in recent drafts. Like, they might have the fastest defense in the NFL, and you saw it on Sunday. It was a fucking bloodbath. I mean, just sharks in the water, blood in the water, sharks just attacking, and the Lions really had no answers for it. It's super interesting. And then Jordan Love looked great. I mean, they didn't really use Golden that often. And I know he's been getting rave reviews, and he was my wide receiver one this past offseason. I know he's been getting rave reviews and stuff like that, but man, I was blown away by how the Packers played, to be quite honest. And there's been a lot to be said. Now I'll get into the Lions side of this. There's been a lot to be said about coordinators and Aaron Glenn, losing Ben Johnson, all that type of stuff. And there might be some smoke to the fire there. The pass rush was an area of concern. The offensive line was an area of concern, especially the interior, but even the exterior. Micah Parsons had Penei Sewell in a blender the whole day that I saw. And I don't know. Decker didn't look very good, particularly. I know that Ragnow retiring really kind of fucked him over, but the offensive line doesn't look good, which obviously negatively affected how the offense performed. Because at the end of the day, like, it's kind of what they were built on, right? Offensive line, physicality, all that type of stuff. And man, it's tough. Without the pass rush, the secondary didn't look as dominant as they did. Well, I guess they didn't really look dominant last year because they were all injured, but they were healthy for a large part of this game. I think Arnold went down, unfortunately for them, but secondary was getting picked apart because if you give Jordan Love time, he's an incredible thrower of the football. And I mean, I know someone said, oh, MVP candidate and like all this type of stuff, or he's the best quarterback in the league. Like, Jordan Love might be an MVP candidate this year. Let's not get crazy with the best quarterback in the league nonsense, but he definitely might be an MVP candidate this year. Yeah, I was shocked, honestly. I didn't think that it was going to be as bad of a game. I mean, it's week one, so the Lions have a lot of time, but they do need to figure some shit out pretty quickly because I think their next game is the Vikings. No, it's the Bears, I believe. Yep, the Bears. So, and they look good. The Bears did look good. More on that in a second. Um, yeah, it's pretty wild, to be quite honest. Interesting times we live in. But yeah, the Lions look like they just have a long way to go, unfortunately. Sorry, Lions fans. It's perks of being at the top. Let's just hope you guys can kind of figure it out. Um, Unfortunately, you got 16 more weeks to figure it out. I mean, I have all faith in Dan Campbell, and it's still an incredibly talented roster, right? People are back. Hutch is going to get back. It's his first game back, game shape. I think the Lions are going to end up being fine, and maybe not being as dominant as they were last year, but I'd be absolutely shocked and floored if they didn't make the playoffs. So we'll find out. Maybe I'm a dumbass for saying that, and maybe everyone else is right saying that the Lions aren't going to make the playoffs, but we'll see. Stay tuned. Next up, Houston Texans, LA Rams. Rams. Well, first off, this was a fucking bloodbath. Both defenses were just hitting. You love to see it. The Texans with the no-fly zone or whatever, I forget what they called it. The kill zone, I think it's called. They might get a lot of penalties this year, but goddamn, is it a fun brand of football? They are physical. They aren't lying at all, calling it the kill zone because it's. I mean, they had fucking Nakua bleeding from his head from multiple hits. I mean, he was getting rocked. He's going to be so happy next week when he doesn't have to play the Texans again. That defense is going to. They might have a Lions thing like last year where it's like the Honolulu flu or whatever the Lions fans called it. It's that Texans defense is going to beat you the fuck up. Will Anderson looked great. I mean, everyone looked great in that defense. Stingley looked good outside, I think, a play or two. Chubb looks like he still has a little bit left in the tank, but they are desperately needing Mixon. Um, who knows? They might be a little too physical for modern football, so I don't know. Their offensive line is definitely a problem. Thankfully, they have Fairburn. Kaimi Fairburn he's an asset for them. Yeah, I mean, defensively they're going to be great, but their offensive line, they really need to figure that out. And I know they switched it back and forth, and then they had Ursery on the right side, and then I think the left tackle got hurt, so then they had to put Ursery on the left, and then they had, I mean, to be fair, the Rams defensive line was doing that to the Eagles defensive line of last year, which was the best defensive line in football last year. So is this the Texans line is awful, or is this the Rams defensive line is that good? There's a lot of those. Obviously, these are cop-outs for me, and anyone who's doing this for podcast. But yeah, man, I just love the way the Texans defense plays. Their offense, it's pretty rough. They just looked a lot like they did last year, and I don't want to say I don't see it getting better, but at the end of the day, it's just, I don't know, man. CJ Stroud definitely wasn't looking at the rush as much as he was last year, and he's still CJ Stroud, but I mean, there's only so much you can do when you have people in your face at all times. And speaking of those people in CJ Stroud's face, yeah, that was Byron Young. That was Jared Verse. That was all the boys on the Rams. And they were, I mean, how many times did I watch Jared Verse walk back a tackle? You know, or even Byron Young was physical, and Fisk looked great. All of those guys looked phenomenal, to be quite honest. And it was, I mean, it was just a great game. Stafford thankfully survived the Texans game. We'll see. We'll see the injury report for this week. See how he goes and how he does. But Stafford survived, which is awesome. It didn't really seem like he got hit that much. Alaric Jackson, that's cool to see him be playing because he, like Barmore last year, I believe, is suffering from blood clots and stuff like that. Though he doesn't not have to play this year, like like Barmore last year, but Puka Nacua is just. I know I said Cortland Sutton's a throwback, but Puka Nacua is just a throwback wide receiver. He doesn't give a fuck if he's going to get lit up by CJ or Petrie or whoever. I mean, they had to bandage his head. I, I hope everyone saw just the bloody bandage. He had a bandage on his head. He couldn't get his helmet back on at the same level that he wanted to. Like, it's just wild, 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 wild. But he's a throwback, man. He's just a dog. He's a physical specimen, and I just love the way he plays. It was interesting not seeing Davante Adams being used as much. Like when they went on their Super Bowl run, they fed OBJ that first game, although I think that might have had something to do with the kill zone. And Puka Nacua is a psychopath. And Davante Adams says, I do not want to die. Stafford's still Stafford with time. It was pretty awesome to see him play well. It doesn't seem like the back's bothering him too much. We'll keep an eye on the what am I trying to say? We'll keep an eye on the injury report, see if anything happened. But I didn't really see him get hit too much. I mean, a couple sacks here or there, but nothing particularly crazy. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and impressed at both of these teams. Even though, I mean, obviously the Texans have some work to do in offense, but their defense is going to keep them in games the whole year. And then the Rams, when they're not playing the Texans, I mean, they're going to be. Their run defense looked good, but also it's the Texans line, so who knows? But yeah, last but not least, and then if I have time, I'll do the Bills Ravens. Unfortunately, but worst case, I'll do a different pod on that at the end of after this. But last but not least is the Vikings at the Bears. Don't worry, I'm not copping out. I will talk about how the Bills had no business winning that game, and the Ravens did what the Ravens do and let people win. More on that in a minute. Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. Pleasantly surprised with both quarterbacks. Murphy and Caleb Williams both had moments of brilliance. Both had moments of, oh, that's a rookie. Caleb Williams was taking what the defense was giving him early and often, and I just love that. You know, Ben Johnson. I mean, Jared Goff was his quarterback last year. Like Ben Johnson had his guy, and now he has his guy that he's never had before. I don't think he's ever coached a guy like Caleb Williams because, I mean, he did some Mahomian things, some Lamar things, some Allen things. Seems there was the question of whether or not he could do what he did at USC or Oklahoma in the league. The answer is yes. The answer is if you get the offensive line better and put some weapons around him, mostly get the offensive line better and tell him like, hey, you don't have to put the team on your back every fucking play. Like take what the defense gives you, and if you can, run a little bit. Yeah, he can do what he did at USC. He was incredible on the ground, escaping pressure, all that type of stuff. Didn't take the sacks like he did last year. I think his sack total is probably going to be cut in half, if not a third. Pretty wild though. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams was really, really, really impressive, and I do not understand how Shane Waldron keeps getting jobs. I don't get it because clearly, I mean, you hear after the offseason of, Williams said that no one really helped him, like, outside of teaching him the plays. It's like, what are we doing, dude? You know, whereas Ben Johnson's been hands-on and over teaching him to the point where he doesn't know how to call the plays in preseason because he's so consumed, like, so over, what am I trying to say? He's so over saturated with just all of the play calls, all this, all that, and then they dumbed it down. So yeah, not everyone can be Ben Johnson. And again, I can't stress this enough. People really need to stop hiring Shane Waldron because I don't understand how that guy keeps getting jobs in the NFL. He's the reason why Flus got fired. And I mean, he's not the reason. Flus was an awful head coach, but he's the reason why Flus got fired. He's a reason why Flus got fired and why Caleb looked distraught last year. He looked awful. I think he led the league in sacks. If not him, it was C.J. Stroud for two completely different reasons. But yeah, enough about Shane Waldron. Sorry, Shane. I didn't like you in Seattle. I don't know you as a human being, but I didn't like you as a play caller in Seattle. I know you did let Russ cook and all that type of stuff. I didn't like that. I just anywhere you've been, I just don't. You're not my kind of offensive coordinator, and I'm glad that Caleb Williams is out of Waldron Trail because that's awesome. He's an electric talent. The O line obviously is much better. I think them solidifying with Thuney in the inside, and then obviously getting all those guys on the interior really helped. The tackles looked pretty solid. I mean, it is the Vikings. The Vikings didn't really get much on defensively to start. That did change towards the end of the game, but more on that in a second. Yeah, Caleb Williams looked great pretty much the whole game, and even towards the end, he had opportunities to seal the deal and win the game. Obviously, that didn't happen because B flowed around, but yeah, Caleb Williams looks great, and I cannot wait to watch him play for the rest of the year. Bears defense is legit. I know it was against a rookie, JJ McCarthy, but they look really fucking good. And they're missing quite a few people. I think Kyler Gordon didn't play. I think Jalen Johnson wasn't playing. So, like, there's two of their best players in the secondary. Got to see that Spider-Man celebration quite a few times this year. But defense looks solid. Sweat and the boys on the line were pressuring McCarthy quite a bit. Yeah, especially early and often. Um, DeAndre Swift looked good. He looked fat. I don't know if he lost weight or he just looked a lot more explosive than he has in the past. Or maybe he's on that Derrick Henry regimen, just running up hills with chains and shit. But yeah, he looked pretty explosive. A lot more explosive than he did last year. Or maybe it was just the offensive line and him not being able to get more than 2 yards without getting smacked in the backfield. Um, but yeah, the Bears pleasantly surprised. I mean, the NFC North, if the Lions can figure their shit out, that might be the best division in football come January because I mean the Bears look good. Ben Johnson in no nonsense. They needed to get whatever the hell Eberflus was doing out of there. Um, and like I said, Caleb Williams looked much improved. He was taking what the defense was giving him, doing all that type of stuff, and then yeah, the defense looks improved. Who's their defensive coordinator? Dennis Allen. I already went over this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Dennis Allen. That makes sense. Because there were multiple times where he had, I believe JJ McCarthy's pick was directly attributed from Dennis Allen. So yeah, Dennis Allen. I mean, the Sean Payton tree. Dennis Allen was one of the better defensive coordinators for the past 10 years. Right? He didn't do great as a head coach, but at the end of the day, he still is a stud as a defensive coordinator. Pretty pleasantly surprised with the Bears, to be quite honest. As far as the Vikings go, offense needed to settle in like a rookie quarterback did. I don't think that really happened until after the third quarter. And really, I don't think that happened with McCarthy until I guess so. Aaron Jones, forgive me, I don't know whose podcast it was on or where it was. Maybe it was an interview or something after the game. Aaron Jones had a cool story where JJ McCarthy took a hold of the huddle. Obviously, everything was going to shit because there really wasn't much going on the Vikings offense up until this point. And JJ McCarthy looks at everybody and goes, "Is there any other place you'd rather be?" And it's like, fuck. For a rookie to do that, I mean, Aaron Jones was stoked on it. And obviously that got all the boys going because that's when the Vikings started to kind of turn it on a little bit. I think the offensive line is going to be much better once they get Darisaw back. Uh, and it's all new, right? You have Kelly, who's first time playing center with this group. Then you have Fries on the right. They're figuring stuff out. You still got O'Neal on the right side, um, and then yeah. So you're still figuring things out with the offensive line. But man, that JJ McCarthy, he didn't look particularly good until like the middle of the third, until after what Aaron Jones said he did. But Jesus, after that, that was that was wild. Um, the D line, the defense wasn't as impressive as I thought. I mean, they didn't, obviously, the Bears didn't light up the scoreboard, but the defense wasn't as Vikingsy. I think B-Flow needed to take some time to kind of get into the swing of things with the game. Yeah, it wasn't the best start for a B-Flow defense, but I think they started to give Caleb and that offense some fits later on. and kind of started to figure things out and get everything. Yeah, so my notes, defense is starting to get going in the second half. Seems to be a lot more pressure. Yeah, who's 97 on the Vikings? 97. Javon Hargrave. Have a day, my friend. Big boy. Having a fucking day because he balled out, to be quite honest, and he was that interior pressure is something that all defensive ends and edge rushers love, and he was supplying it in droves once they kind of figured out. Van Ginkel, obviously doing what he does best and just making plays everywhere. I did like, even when things weren't going right, McCarthy would just stand in the pocket and try to make a throw, take a shot, all that type of stuff. You hear all the stories about him at Michigan and all that type of stuff. And when he was younger at Michigan, a freshman or whatever, they were saying, oh, well, this kid, the linemen were skeptical because he's the next one. And, oh, well, this kid did the same thing that Aaron Jones said. Took him by the balls and was like, I'm your quarterback now. And the boys ended up being like, oh, fuck yeah, this kid's legit. Took him by the balls. Pause. McCarthy, like I mentioned before, his pick six was directly from Dennis Allen, straight up, like just spooked him into it. Rushed him, sped up that internal clock and just let it rip. And unfortunately for him, that was a pick six. Yeah, it was kind of, I don't want to say, I don't know. Both quarterbacks looked fucking great, to be quite honest. Caleb looked much improved. I'm excited for the rest of the season. And then McCarthy, maybe that's the starting point of his career is after the third quarter, because he didn't look particularly good at the beginning. I'm sure Viking fans were like, we got rid of Sam Darnold for this at the start. But towards the end, especially after hearing the stories of him commanding the huddle and all that type of stuff, yeah, you guys got a guy. I'm certain of it. So yeah, so that's, or actually I should say, all right, so I'm going to do this. So, and then up next is the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. And yeah, so that wraps up this episode, week 1 review of the Fourth and Vibes pod. I appreciate everyone listening, and like, comment, subscribe, or whatever everyone's saying nowadays.